David and Beth as a couple are just perfect for one another. They throw themselves into whatever project they're involved with. It's a love of life, just a real strong commitment to their ideals.
David has a vision, and Beth makes it happen. They build on each other.
It would be impossible for David to be David or Beth to be Beth without each other.
They're a team, but I don't have the sense that there's any premeditation. They don't sit down and plan a strategy or anything. It's just the way they mesh. It's just the way they roll.
After earning a master's degree in fine art from Wayne State, David found a teaching position at Macomb Community College, where he taught for nearly 40 years. Throughout that time, he was prolific, creating countless new works.
David, the first word that comes to mind when I think of David is generosity. He's a very generous spirit. What I remember most of him as a teacher was how giving he was of his knowledge to help students gain their own knowledge.
He lives art. Art is his life. This is what the man does and what he thinks about 24 hours a day.
Well, I think David's strong intellect is extremely important because it crosses all venues of his career and his interests.
Even more than just his art, he's passionate about time, lines, history, the sky, all of these things that work together to help him create the things that he's created.
He works tirelessly. I mean, his persistence and dedication to a project is what makes it happen.
An accomplished artist herself, Beth worked in the medium of dance, performing, and teaching. After she and David were introduced through a mutual friend, Beth became an artistic collaborator and steadfast partner.
Beth is an amazing person. She is so open and loving and giving. She's a dancer, which is the cruelest of the arts. You can only be a dancer for a few years, and then your body betrays you, and you can't do the things that you're called on to do. In my mind, Beth is a retired dancer, but she had the opportunity, the pleasure, and the excitement of working with a brilliant choreographer, Denise Sekula.
I mean, I have people today, who was that beautiful dancer with the long black hair? Of course they're talking about Beth. Her energy is so positive. She is an artist. She opens doors of your heart, of your mind, of your courage. She brings you through.
A lot of the work that David did is in collaboration with Beth. Not just that she put up with him or fixed his meals and all of that, which she does and did, but she's very much involved in his artistic career.
I don't know if she's his muse, but she might be the inspiration.
I'm not going to say David couldn't do some of the projects he did without Beth, but they would have been very much harder for him if he hadn't had the support and the love of that woman.
David's work is very precise, very elegant, very well crafted. It has meaning, it has broader meaning than just a visual image. He's put his whole life into creating his work, and it shows when you look at his things.
What I see in David's work is, as he would say, not to illustrate what we all see, but to reveal what we see but don't understand.
There's always some thought behind it. It's not just something visual, but there's usually some kind of a mental process behind it, whether it's lines converging or organic shapes or the kinds of philosophies in his more global projects.
The fact that it has such constructivist and mathematical and geometrical kind of backgrounds, one would think would be sterile. And yet it's not. It refers to nature, it's full of emotion. His art is fantastic.
When David comes to conceptual work, it's not just in his head, it's expressed in these massive ways. You can't get much bigger than a sculpture that's contained by the entire earth.
These projects that they have done together, they connect the world. The Four Corners project, are you kidding me?
In the Four Corners project, David wanted to use the earth to build the largest sculpture in the world, literally, by representing the tips of the tetrahedron, the points, which themselves are a little tetrahedron, a little 3-inch marble that he made from a block of stone from Detroit City County building when they wrecked it. People didn't believe him when he was describing what it was he was proposing to do. And they would think he's crazy, and then they would think about it for a little while, and they would come back and offer to help. You know, how can we do this? Because they realized that that project was really about connecting people and about saying something about the smallness of the world and how we're all connected. It's a pure kind of expression of the idea of art being in the mind of the beholder, as it has never been before.
As David worked on the global projects in the 1980s, his thoughts turned to his home, the Midwest and Michigan. Fascinated by the region's distinct history, culture, and environment, David wanted an opportunity and a place where he could express these ideas through art. He inspired others with his vision, and together with a small group of supporters, opened the Michigan Legacy Art Park at Crystal Mountain in 1995.
Every work of art, every good work of art is an expression of the time and place in which it's done. And the art park is, in a sense, a work of art. It's an encompassing kind of idea. And David was interested in the uniqueness of the Midwest.
His concept of the park was that of wanting to tell Michigan history in pieces that would be put into the park.
And so the history of the place, the Native American experience, the French trade in fur and beavers, and then the logging of the place, the conversion of that logging industry into a manufacturing industry that ended up being cars. I mean, all of that is a piece in David's mind. He sees that history. That is where the idea, I think, for the Michigan Legacy Art Park came from, is to give other artists the opportunity to express something related to that stream of human activity.
When it was determined that the art park would be situated at Crystal Mountain, we set about to get started on something, and it was the amphitheater.
And he spent great deal of time at Crystal Mountain, trailing up here weekend after weekend after weekend.
He drove up from Detroit. His trip was 4 times as long as mine. And to talk about devotion, I think of the hundreds of times he must have made that trip over the years.
By getting out there and doing it, creating things, I think that he inspired other people to do the same thing, to get involved.
It's hard not to just admire him for his ability to stick with it and see his vision through and bring people along and bring people aboard that have his same kind of vision and it's the same passion. In a few short years, we were way up and running. And as you visit the park now, it's as if it's always been there, and it's really a beautiful thing. It's really a tribute to his ability to stick with it.
That it all came together. It just all came together as a perfect place to tell the story of Dave's.
One of the things that David and I enjoyed the most were watching kids come through the park. And just the idea that these kids were having this experience that they wouldn't have otherwise was very, very gratifying.
This is David's dream, the art park.
There's a sort of a contrast about working alone as a sculptor and then working in ways that gather community. Not only with immediate friends, students, and so on, but building relationships across borders, understanding different cultures, the way that those cultures come together, the way that they can inform one another. I think that's what makes him unique as an artist.
Part of his genius is his ability to bring other people in, and what it takes to get the global projects that he did, to get them done. That to me is artwork in and of itself.
That he just has a real strong means of communicating with people and to get people excited and get people interested in not only his dream, but bringing people into fulfill their own artistic needs and dreams of themselves.
One of David's most visible works is Transcending, which stands in downtown Detroit as a tribute to those who have labored to build Michigan and the country. Transcendence is also a fitting theme for David and Beth. Through their art, they helped others rise above time, place, and the limitations of human experience, to connect with the rest of humanity and see the beauty and wonder of the world around them.